Welcome to Visionaries Global Media, your number one source for podcasting entertainment. Visionaries Global Media, envisioning excellence on a global scale.
This is Banned from Ringside.
Tonight on the Banned from Ringside podcast, Shane returns to WWE television with his Raw Underground. We talk about the Wednesday Night Wars, the Jericho Orange Cassidy debate, which I happen to love. We're also going to do our NXT TakeOver Do-Over Toronto from 2016. That and a whole bunch more tonight on the Banned from Ringside podcast. Ditch that 9 to 5. It's time to feel alive. Hello, Mark. So welcome to the Banned from Ringside podcast. As always, I'm your host, Bill Vagey, a.k.a. With hands like us, baby, we were born to jump.
Nice.
And out there in Edwardsville, Illinois, we have Two Beer Zach. Boom, what's going on, Two Beer Zach?
Man, it is 79 degrees on my porch, and this Miller Lite is about 28 degrees, and I'm loving it.
Ooh, that sounds pretty nice. And over there in University City, St. Louis, we have Jason Cornelius Bell. What's going on, JCB?
Allow me to ask the congregation to bow their heads as I read from the Banned from Ringside podcast, volume 167, chapter 3, verse 14. And it's Mark saying, hashtag boo the heels. It is all good, baby. Listen, share, subscribe, repeat. Shout out to my girl, Becky Balboa. I love you, babe. Interesting week of wrestling, to say the least. Shane being back, I got some words about that. I'm ready to get started.
I bet you do. I am coming at the serene South City, St. Louis, in my basement. It was a weird week of wrestling. Lot to get to. We don't have a whole lot of time, only about an hour and 20 minutes, which should get us through one or two counts. But before we get too far into it, Jason, why don't you tell us about F&B Eatery?
F&B Eatery on the corner of 3453 Southampton and Marquette, home of the greatest smash burger you've never heard of. Slide in, check out my boy Mike, get your curbside pickup, stay out the doghouse with the wifey, get the kids to come with you. That way you get wife at home, give her some free time. That way you can go pick up food for the family. Slide in, check them out, 3453 Southampton. F&B Eatery, and tell them Banned from Ringside sent you.
Okay, before we get into the 3 count, a quick programming note. There's a very good chance that there's going to be a podcast next week. There is a 100% chance that I will not be on it. Zach and Jason, due to I'm going to Michigan to see my brother due to COVID-related things. The boys haven't been over to my house in a while. Jason or Zach's going to grab the equipment that we need, but there's some other technical things going on. So there's a good chance there's going to be a podcast next week. We will keep you abreast of the situation via social media. But just wanted to put that out there for you guys. And listen, if you tune in for me every week, you might just want to take next week off anyway. You don't have to listen to these boring motherfuckers.
The good it takes to go and run the asylum, we get this shit rolling next week. I'll tell you that.
All right, without further ado, let's get into that 3 count.
1, 2, 3.
JCB, what's the 1 count?
Guess who's back? Back again. Shane-O's Mac. Tell a friend. Guess who's back? Guess who's back?
I was going to keep going.
Guess who's back? Guess who's back? Guess who's back? Guess who's
Do
back?
the whole song. Talk about creating a monster.
Yeah, right? Shane McMahon returns to Monday Night Raw. Unexpectedly, well, I shouldn't say unexpectedly, they did put out a tweet saying that Shane McMahon was going to come back. It looked like he was going to introduce a new faction, but alas, he brings back a new concept, Raw Underground. I'll just say this. The first rule about Fight Club is you don't talk about Fight Club. That was my knee-jerk reaction when I initially saw this. I guess I'm going to be the minority in this one, I would assume.
Just in this one?
I don't. Yeah, right. I just don't get this at all. I understand that, quote unquote, trying new things. Okay, I get that. In the pandemic era, you want to try new things. I just don't understand what this has anything to do with wrestling, professional wrestling, pro wrestling, sports entertainment. I guess it would fall into the latter at this point. If that's where we're going, then I don't know if I can hang with Raw in that third hour, because I like UFC personally. I will go over to a friend's house if friends invite me over to watch UFC. I can get into that. This is a knockoff, for lack of a better term, of UFC. Plus, the camera angles switching back and forth really didn't give it the oomph that you're looking for. That's why I like UFC. I want to see somebody get yacked in the face. I want to see somebody's head get split open. That's what I'm looking for UFC. This was trying to do that, and it was trying to do something different. Dancing girls aside, it seemed a little 80s or 90s to me, but hey, what do I really know? At the end of the day, I guess I got a problem with Raw Underground because, one, Shane McMahon is back, and the last time I checked, we did months and months and months on a angle with Shane and KO culminating into basically the loser gets fired from WWE. Shane lost, and now he comes back. Okay, that's fine if you want to bring him back, but then you got to explain why he's back. How did he escape this loophole, besides being the owner's son, that now allows him to come back? WWE, I guess, thinks that either we don't remember or they want us to forget. It's hard to forget something that is still that recent. Shane hasn't been gone that long. It hasn't even really been a calendar year. So now to bring him back for this concept where he's kind of, I guess, being the commentator, talking over it, dancing girls, for me, it was trying to do too much at one time. Guys that, God love Ibar or Eric, whichever one was on there on Monday night. God bless you. I couldn't do it. After going through the Street Profits and then now having to do this, I mean, at a certain point, where's the wrestling coming in? Like I said, I'll pass the mic on that. I don't get Raw Underground. And I'm not saying this because I want to shit on WWE. I just don't get it.
All right, Zach, what do you think?
Yeah, I don't get it either. Like, you already have a show that is essentially fake fighting, so then you put more but different fake fighting on the show. But that fighting is, for some reason, supposed to be real, which just points out that the other fighting that you do on the show is fake, which is what we're not trying to point out, even though we all know that it is. Besides that, I mean...
Wrestling's fake?
Cut it out.
I know, right? But besides, they're just throwing stuff at the wall and hoping something sticks. And I mean, this did get ratings for teenage viewers, so we're probably
the third hour was up
again next week
for sure.
Yeah, the third
I think
hour
they said it was over 100,000.
Ooh, look!
Yeah,
look
and
at
like
Zach
20%.
doing journalism. I love it that Zach has this newfound love of keeping track of the ratings, because we need that on this show. We need a little something extra too,
Just need some, anal retentiveness. But yeah, it's just it's bonkers to me. You bring Shane McMahon back to pop a rating, and besides the fact that the premise of it is dumb, I mean, it's not Brawl for All, which was incredibly dumb, but it is dumb. Like the production of it, this is not me doing this, but there was a gentleman on Reddit who counted. It was a 2-minute and 45-second segment. That was the first segment of Raw Underground. What do you think the over-under is on the number of camera cuts that were done in that 2 minutes and 45 seconds?
Ooh, 2 minutes and 46 seconds, you said? I know it's gonna be high, but I'm not gonna shit on. I hate when you do this to somebody and they kind of shit on it by guessing way too high. It's like, 1,000.
15.
Oh no, I'll say 60.
76.
Jesus Christ.
Yeah. So that's, if you average it out, it's 165 seconds of content. That's a camera cut every 2.17 seconds. Like it's outrageous.
That's like the movie. That's like the movie JFK.
Yeah.
It's more like that movie Catwoman with Halle Berry, which, like, I mean, we all know why we watched it, but it was really bad. But
I like DC
yeah,
Comics.
Yeah, well, and Halle Berry.
Yeah, you just watch Swordfish, guys.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, I know, right? I remember
shame.
that was like one of the first DVDs that I owned, and thankfully it was, because it was a VHS. You'd never get past, like, it would be super wavy at that one part.
Oh yeah, I bet. Really showing our age here, guys.
I know, right?
Yeah.
But anyway, it might have worked for some people. It didn't work for me. It's not bringing me back as a Raw viewer. Shane McMahon ain't bringing me back as a Raw viewer. And, you know, like, it's going to take more than like 1 week of getting crazy and, you know, having a train wreck of a show to turn this ship around. You know, it's going to take a worthwhile investment into some young talent, and we do not have the attention span for that. And we don't need to kick a dead horse, because this is what we do all the time. But I mean, like, it just goes to show again, there needs to be a fundamental change in leadership and vision in WWE. This ain't cutting it.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know why Jason thought that he was in the minority on this. I don't think this went over very well at all. But of course, Jason has a different Twitter timeline than I do. I mean, I applaud them. I applaud them trying to do something different. Shane is not something different. You know, having Shane out there all sweaty, but not wrestling and not jumping off at anything high, that's not what I'm into. I mean, apparently this is Shane's idea from way back. Like, he's always wanted to do this, and I guess Vince thought that the situation got dire enough that he would let him try it now. When I heard
Shane wanted to do legitimate MMA, he wanted, like, that was a big schism back in the day, because Shane wanted them to have an MMA brand because MMA was hot, and Vince didn't think it was going to take off. And I mean, look, he was wrong about that.
Yeah, I can't believe Vince was wrong about where the wind was blowing. But when I woke up the next day, because I fell asleep how I often do on the couch, and then I just went to bed. I'm like, I'm not staying up to see some shitty Raw segment at the end. I'm just going to go to bed. And then I woke up the next day because I was genuinely curious about what Shane's big reveal was. And the first place I went was Twitter, and I saw a bunch of stuff about Raw Underground, and then I went to this recap website that I look at a lot, and I read what happened, and I go, this doesn't make any sense to me. Like, I read the full recap. Like, it's one of those things where they write down pretty much everything that happens. And I read it, and this doesn't make sense to me. And then I went to PW Torch, which is, you know, probably the longest standing, besides Meltzer, probably the longest. It's Wade Keller's website. It's a good one. I read Wade Keller's recap of it, which is always really thorough. And I still thought, man, I do not understand what the fuck this is. Like, there's no fucking ropes. And is it just supposed to be in that room? And why
you're an educated man. I just want to point out to everyone, Bill Veggie is an educated man, especially when it comes to the English language. So,
yes.
Amen.
Like, if there was a discernible point or a discernible, like, theme, he would have picked up on it.
Yeah, but it really wasn't, though. It seemed, because, I mean, you guys say MMA and you guys say Fight Club, but both of those, like, it seemed like everything that happened, they had Babatunde come in. I forgot what Shane called him, but Babatunde came in, and guys would come at him, and he'd just knock him down, and then another guy would come running at him. It's like, that's not the way Fight Club or MMA works. Like, you actually have to have fights. Like, you have a fight until there's a winner, not until some guy gets knocked down. And then when the Hurt Business came in, and I want to reiterate that the Hurt Business is a great name for a faction, but when the Hurt Business comes in, and if MVP and Lashley are taking over, like, all Lashley did was punch a guy, and then he was gone. Then they sent up another guy. It's like, this is not anything. When I read Raw Underground, the term Raw Underground, the phrase, my first thought was that would be cool if the last hour of Raw that's doing terrible ratings just really did a service to the smart marks and just let Akira Tozawa and Tony Nese have whatever kind of match they want for 15 minutes, you know? Like, it would be like a real wrestling show, but there's no ropes on Raw Underground, which is probably the thing that bothers me the most. I still want it to be wrestling. I don't want to watch fake MMA. I want to watch fake wrestling because fake MMA is just, it's going to be ground and pound shit unless it's just wrestling. Because if it's not just ground and pound stuff and it's fake, then it's just wrestling. So put some ropes up there. And to have it be in the dark and everything, and I can't emphasize enough how sweaty Shane was. Like, is it supposed to be in like a steam room or something? Like the basement of somewhere, like where the steerage is on the Titanic or something? Like, why is it so fucking dark and hot in there, man? The WWE is a $1 billion corporation. I wasn't for it. I applaud them trying to do something different. I do. And I don't hate Shane. But this is not what I wanted. Not at all. What did you see, Jason? What were the reactions that you saw on your WWE heavy timeline on Twitter?
I wouldn't go that far. I think it was probably 60-40 against, but the 40 that were for it were basically saying what you said. You know, they're trying something new. There were people that genuinely liked it. So, I mean, it just goes to show once again that wrestling is subjective. You know, we can all be looking at the same thing. Some will like it, some won't like it. Like I said, for me, it just doesn't work because it's not. You said it best. It's fake MMA, and I'm not looking for fake MMA. MMA, I want to see guys getting their ass handed to them. Wrestling is,
I want to see the science of it. Like, I'm not a big MMA guy, but when I watch it, like I like watching different styles and who's better at actual, you know, the art of the martial arts part of it. You know, the jujitsu of it. That's what I like watching about MMA. But with wrestling, I want to see fake shit. That's why I'm watching it.
Right, and you know, bringing Dolph in kind of didn't make sense that much. I mean, Eric from Viking Raiders, I mean, what else are you going to do with him? You basically have the Hurt Business look silly until they get down to Raw Underground, and all of a sudden now they're the baddest guys in the land, but they're beating up basically nobodies. I mean, it just... I get it.
I guess the idea with Dolph is that he was a collegiate
wrestler or whatever.
And a good one.
Yeah, Kent State, all that good stuff. Okay, fair enough. I'm not going to sit up here and say that was a stretch. You know, that at least made sense. Like I said, for me, when Shane comes back, the way they presented it was that Shane was announcing a new faction. So that's what the big buzz was going on social media all up to this point was Shane's going to introduce this new faction. Shane's going to introduce this new faction. So this faction, Retribution, is wrecking havoc outside of the PC, which has got to be, and Blood Girl Raven had one of the best tweets about this thing. PC security is just absolutely brutal. I mean, you can't go outside and walk to your car without getting assaulted, kidnapped, or in this case, Molotov cocktails being thrown on speakers. Okay, so that's the next problem. They said it one way that Shane was going to introduce this faction, and then presented something different.
So did they say that? Did they say that on social media, or did they say that on television?
I think they said it
because I saw a bunch of people saying that he was going to introduce new faction, but I don't think I ever saw it from. I don't even follow WWE proper. I just follow a bunch of funny motherfuckers.
No, I went back to WWE's Twitter page, and neither one of the tweets that I saw had anything to do with Shane announcing a new faction. I want to say they said that on Raw leading into the first segment. I could be wrong, and I would have to go back and check it out.
No, it was actually WWE's. It was WWE's social media said that there was going to be a new faction debuting because apparently this anarchist faction decided they were going to be nice enough to give WWE social media buzz to let them know that they were coming to raise hell.
I mean, I don't know if you know any anarchists. That's what they're like, bro. Very polite.
Give you the heads up. Like I said,
We believe in nothing.
I'll give them credit. They tried it, and apparently it worked enough to where they're going to try it again next week and probably the week after that. For me, you can miss me with this shit. I mean, this is just another way to keep people that we quote unquote know in regular rotation for Raw versus trying to have to develop someone new that hasn't been on there, say like a Bianca Belair. Okay. It would be easier for them to go this route than try to introduce Bianca Belair into a angle that might have to come up with some creativity. So that's just what WWE is to me, and that's fine. If you want to go that route, so be it. I've stopped watching SmackDown. You know, I can watch the first 2 hours of Raw and skip Raw Underground if it's going to take the third hour. That's easy for me.
Yeah, right. Zach, any final thoughts on Raw Underground?
Nah, I can't wait to not watch it next week.
Yeah, no. I just want to point out that a few things here, and then we'll move on. Raw kind of fundamentally gets it wrong, ultimately, or WWE fundamentally gets it wrong, is that matches need to have stakes when you're watching pro wrestling. Like, that's why the G1 does so well. That's why not does so well. That's why I enjoy the D1. That's why people enjoy King of the Ring. That's why people enjoy number one contenders matches. That's why people like tournaments. If you're just going to have a bunch of fake fighting in a dark room with Sweaty Shane over in the corner, that's not going to get me going. Now, even if you just had, let's say, like I brought up two jobbers that can work earlier, Tony Nese and Akira Tozawa. If you told me that those guys were allowed to tell whatever story they wanted to for 20 minutes, and it was going to air at 9:05 on the USA Network on Monday nights, I would be more apt to watch that than I would some fucking other segment, whatever the fuck shit they put on with R-Truth or whatever. Just let those two artists, those two athletes, go out and do the best that they can and let me watch it. I would be more in tune to that than whatever the fuck this is. The second thing I want to
have a show for that. It's called 205 Live, but go ahead.
Yeah, but they don't really let them go.
I know, but
I mean, really, let them go. Like it's obvious that people. It's obvious that Raw is losing in the ratings to AEW because the AEW really. I know that they had the debate last night, but AEW, the emphasis is on the wrestling. New Japan, the emphasis is on the wrestling, but New Japan doesn't count as much as WWE. They don't give a fuck. AEW is their direct competition. AEW, the emphasis is on the wrestling. That's why they always kick off the show with some badass fucking match. I mean, if there's been 40 Dynamites, I don't even know if there's been that many, how many have started off with a promo? 5%?
Yeah.
Maybe less. It gets you into
they always start with a match.
I feel like they always start with a match.
Except for the one right after the pandemic, they started with a promo, and that's what made it like different because those guys were in the ring. But yeah, I feel like 99% of the time it's a match.
This is the second thing I want to say, or maybe the third. This was an absolutely bonkers, stupid episode of Raw. You had the guys with the Molotov cocktails. Montez Ford got poisoned before wrestling Angel Garza, or Andrade, I mean, they really fundamentally do not get why people tune into wrestling. And none of those reasons. I don't want to see Molotov cocktails. I don't want to see guys getting poisoned. I want to see guys wrestling. I want to see what we saw in the NXT TakeOver. And if you can't do that, then give us a Raw Underground where it's a bunch of guys just wrestling all the time. Because I'm into the fake shit. That's it. That's all I got. You got anything else, Jason, before we go to the second count?
No, we can move on.
All right. Sorry, guys. Let's move to the second count.
1, 2, 3.
even the cats agree we can move on.
Go ahead. 2 beer. What's the 2 count?
2 count. Wednesday Night Wars. Like pretty much most weeks, we're gonna run these down. Big highlights for AEW because that's what I watched first. That opening 12-man, based on the opening 10-man, or not opening, but based on the 10-man the week before, I thought it was going to be kind of a shit show.
No.
But it was not.
Tell us about it.
It was incredibly well wrestled. It was incredibly well organized. Everyone was in their space. Everyone was in their spots. Everyone did what they should have done. Even the quote-unquote no-names from Dark Order were fantastic, did fantastic work in this. And not only was it just a really fun wrestling match, which, like we just mentioned, you always get for the opening match of AEW Dynamite, it was also huge as far as complicating the story between Adam Page, Kenny Omega, FTR, and the Young Bucks. So basically, a lot of stuff happens. Pretty much baby faces dominate for like the first half of the match, but then Dax Harwood comes off the top. It's uncharacteristic for him, and he gets a worked injury, and half the team goes to the back with him. So it's just Kenny Omega in the ring, and then Matt Jackson comes out and helps him out, and then eventually, Adam Page and Nick, and they're all together again, except for the FTR. But it's just really interesting because there's so many directions that we can go with this, and for me personally, this is the best told, or at least the most interesting storyline in professional wrestling right now for me, because there are so many directions and it's not predictable, and I have no idea what's going to happen, and there's so many things that could happen that excite me. So yeah, that's how we kicked off the show. And I don't even want a fantasy book because, oh my God, I could do that all day. But something's going on. There's going to be a title change soon enough with these, and it's going to be probably FTR taking these belts from Omega and Page. And of course, the Young Bucks have not had the titles yet, which causes a huge rift. I don't know. So much fun, really. What do you guys think?
I thought this was going to be a shit show too, because I think once you get past 8 guys in the ring, it's starting to get a little congested. Getting FTR hurt in a work angle, I thought really kind of gave a little more space for them to play with, but then they got to tell the story as well. And like you said, the story is what is really going on with FTR and Tully, FTR and Arn, FTR and the Bucks, Omega, Adam Page. I mean, there's so many ways that we can go, and we just talked about one group, you know what I'm saying, or one tag team. The match was good. The storytelling, especially when Kenny was by himself, was even better, because now you can kind of see seeds of a heel turn. If they wanted to turn Kenny, here's your heel turn. Oh, you guys left me to get worked over by the Dark Order. You remember that one time, right? Right. So, I mean, it really was about the storytelling for me. Don't get me wrong. Dark Order winning I thought was important, but even more so important was what is going to happen versus what happened.
Even more important, they could find 6 guys in Dark Order that could wrestle. I agree with everything that you guys said. The storytelling is great. I agree that FTR will probably be the ones to end up taking the belts off of Page and Omega. The real question for me is, I mean, I believe that Jason just said that you can see the seedlings of Omega turning heel. I think it looks like Page is going to turn heel. I don't
think they can do it. Like, I thought that, but like that guy is like, there's no fans right now, but he's so much more over than Kenny Omega as far as a babyface goes.
But he really wound up for that buckshot lariat, and it was
oh yeah,
he was going for Kenny. Like, they did a really great job of making it look like it was going to look like he was going for somebody else, but he was actually going for Kenny, though, right? That's the point they were trying to make, right?
Okay, but that's the second time they did this, though. Okay, the first time I can't remember who's the tag match that when they were champions. It was a pay-per-view. There were fans. I can't remember what it was, but same concept where you had Paige on the outside, Omega on the inside, and they teased the heel turn then, where it was going to be Buckshot Lariat time. So I mean, this isn't the first time they've done this. Now the question, I guess, is, what do you believe? What did your eyes tell you? My eyes tell me that in the last 2 weeks, Kenny's kind of been fucked over, I shouldn't say fucked over, but he went after Marco Stunt after the bell, which wasn't necessarily a good look for a babyface. And now, same said babyface got abandoned by his boys, the Elite, for outsiders, the FTR, that dumped a bucket of ice water on him. So, I mean, like I said, I can see why you say Paige, but like for me, the seeds for Kenny Omega turning heel were being planted there.
Well, Paige has been spending way too much time with guys that aren't his tag team partner, and he's been so. You're right. I mean, I wasn't even thinking about the Marco Stunt thing. Thank you for pulling me back into it, because you're right. That is heelish. I mean, that was really heelish, actually, and yeah. I was a big fan of that 6-man or that 12-man match, though.
Yeah, a lot of fun, as is usual for this opening match, and really just a really well-paced show. There's a lot of stuff in the middle. I want to talk about the end most of all, because I feel like it was the most impactful thing of the week. But a lot of stuff in the middle that we can get to here if we have time, like Matt Hardy and Sammy Guevara continue their feud, and Sammy hardways Matt with a chair, super bloody Crimson Mask, and those guys are obviously setting up for a singles match probably at the pay-per-view. And Matt Hardy is, of course, now just Matt Hardy. He's not doing his zany characters, or at least not as much.
I want to say that seems like a great decision, especially with no fans.
With no fans, for sure.
It just makes more sense to just keep him with one character if there's going to be no fans.
Yeah, because he's going to get much bigger pops whenever he does that thing in moderation. So
exactly,
he can continue doing it on Being the Elite and stuff, and it's still fun. It's a different context.
Sure.
But yeah, we had the debut of Matt Cardona in the ring in a tag match with Cody and versus the Dark Order, versus two guys in the Dark Order. Two guys who can also really wrestle. It's kind of silly that they have these masks on and they come out without the mask.
Dude.
And then they put the mask on. But both those guys are really good wrestlers.
Yeah, what's that guy's name? Silver
and Reynolds.
Silver and Reynolds. Yeah, Alex Reynolds, Josh Silver.
Hey, those guys are fucking great. Why you put the mask on them? I couldn't believe it when I was flipping in between channels and I came back. And the Dark Order, there was another Dark Order match and they were all still wearing masks. It just, the Dark Order drives me bananas. But go ahead, sorry.
I can totally see that, but thankfully they are stacked with talent, and thankfully they didn't put a mask on Anna Jay. Then we also had an MJF promo continuing, his rally, kind of political rally against Moxley, which was a lot of fun. Not nearly as fun as last week was when he did it live, but it was still pretty good time. And then really the main event was this debate. It was between Orange Cassidy and Chris Jericho, and Eric Bischoff was the special guest moderator.
Friend of the show.
Friend of the show, Eric Bischoff. Go back in the archives if you want to listen to a really good interview that Bill did with Bischoff back when we were
amazing interview.
But yeah, it was a lot of fun. I think he was the perfect choice for this thing. A lot of people are going to say, like, oh, it's not like WWE who pulls out, like, old people trying to pop a rating. Like, this is, like, a one-off thing. Eric Bischoff is not going to be, like, a part of AEW. I can't imagine.
It worked perfect.
It worked really, really well.
Yeah.
Because there's a history with him and Jericho, and, you got Eric Bischoff.
They tapped into it.
Wrestling. Yeah, and they lean, like you said, yeah, they tap into it. They lean into it. Everything's like explicitly stated, and they just have this debate, and the whole premise is funny because it's a debate against a guy who talks too much and a guy who doesn't talk at all. And they leaned into that also. And Orange Cassidy just came off like a superstar. Like, if there were fans at this thing, oh my God. And that's what we say all the time when it comes to Orange Cassidy. But who would have thought that this would have been as good as it was? Like, Orange Cassidy does that whole, was it Old School? Was it that movie with Will Ferrell where he does the debate? And he basically does that whole thing where he just like has like almost like a mini stroke and like spurts out a bunch of information.
Yeah, he was talking.
Remember what he said?
He was talking about the environment. Before I agree that it was perfect. I know that you guys can't hear this, but the people at home can, and I'm just going to play my favorite 15-second clip from the Jericho Orange Cassidy promo right now.
You're a nerd. I stand here in a $10,000 suit looking like $1 million. You stand there in a filthy denim jacket that smells like old salami, Drakkar Noir, and batteries.
I mean, telling him that his denim jacket smells like old salami, Drakkar Noir, and batteries really popped. It really popped me at home. I mean, it got me really good.
No, I agree totally. I was not looking forward to this. I just thought this would be.
Oh, you weren't looking forward to this?
Honestly, I wasn't, because I just, you got the special moderator.
How often does Jericho swing and miss on shit like this though? Like the festival of friendship, his whole history of shit like this. Like Jericho,
Mike Trout sometimes strikes out. LeBron sometimes misses dunks. And sometimes Jericho might not hit home runs like he's done in the past.
I don't know.
This was a concern to me.
Jericho, Zach, where you at on this? Back me up, please.
Yeah, I mean, if he's not hitting a home run, he's at least hitting a triple.
Yes.
Like, he ain't striking out.
He does
the entertaining TV.
He hasn't struck out since like 2007.
I will say there's some matches where you hype him up in your head, and Jericho has to wrestle a different style than he did when he was younger. So sometimes they might seem underwhelming because they're not as fantastical as you would imagine. Like the last Kenny Omega, like Alpha Omega 2, right? I really hyped that shit.
And he had that match with Ambrose in WWE that was like a weapons.
the Asylum match?
Yeah, the Asylum match. That's what it was.
Oh,
yeah.
Everybody thought it was terrible.
Yeah.
I loved it.
So
that's brutal.
It's pretty rare that Jericho plans a big thing like a week out like this, and it doesn't work. I was looking forward to this. I'll just say I'll just talk for me.
I'll say this. I'll speak for me on this. It worked for two reasons. One, the funny reason is when Orange Cassidy, like TBZ said, he just went off all old school Will Ferrell on you and just spouted a bunch of facts about the environment. Jericho's face, like I said it last night, that face that he was making when Orange Cassidy was doing all those facts, that's going to be the next meme or GIF going around. You give it 24 hours. I'm sure it's out there at some point. Go put Chris Jericho face in search bar. That should be one of the first images coming up. More importantly is how it ended, where Orange Cassidy basically reminded them that I'm Orange Cassidy, but you're Chris Jericho. How's it going to look if you, Chris Jericho, lose to Orange Cassidy?
It was perfect.
That's what wrapped me in and made me want to have this match happen right away.
It was perfect.
All the jokes aside, that to me was the hook that finally got me to reel.
He said, "What?" He goes, Jericho's got all the things that you can Google after you leave here. He goes, but what's going to happen if Chris Jericho loses to the guy that puts his hands in his pockets? Which is a great line. That's a fucking great line coming from Orange Cassidy.
You know what I'm saying? That sounds like some. We in the on the playground and somebody said something about somebody else's mom. Everybody was like, "Ooh!" I was like, "Uh oh."
I was sitting there thinking, like, I had a really long thread years ago when I was stoned and drunk and I was watching some old school Jericho shit, and I was like, man, this guy's had such a fucking crazy career. Like, this is the same guy that did Perry Saturn, Who Wears the Dress, and the Festival of Friendship and all this stuff, and it's really lasted 20 years of my life, and I'm 40. And I was thinking, you know what, this Orange Cassidy feud, no matter how it goes, it might be done after the next match. they're going to be talking about it. It's
Well, not only did this like provide us with like a really entertaining segment, it also, more importantly, hyped up a match for next week that I am dying to see now.
yes. Oh yeah, yeah. It's going to be fucking off the wall. I'm excited for it.
As one of those smart marks that Jericho, called out in his debate. I fully expect Cassidy to go over next time, because why would you have a rematch with Jericho and Orange and all this build up? And even if it's not a clean win, even if like somebody comes and causes Jericho to lose, I totally see Orange Cassidy getting a win. They need that like underdog win. We haven't had much of that. Which is fine, because it makes it, when it does happen, it makes it that much more important. But I'm going to pop
Scorpio
so
Sky
hard
pinning Jericho is the last one that I can think of off the top of my head that made me kind of pop, where you didn't expect it to happen and then it happened.
And was that in a singles match?
It was a tag team match, but
Okay.
It led to a singles match on TV.
Gotcha.
So Jericho's only been pinned once in a singles match, and it was to lose the title. So
Right.
it makes it even more special, because dude just doesn't lose. And he shouldn't. Like the same thing with like Moxley.
I
Like,
can't
Moxley
see
was
I can't see
undefeated until he
Cassidy
changed.
going over. I can't see him going over.
I would be surprised if he didn't. And if it's Mike Tyson or Henry Ceruto or was an MMA guy getting involved, I can see that happening. If
Pat
Cassidy
McAfee,
wins clean,
you know?
yeah, something like that. If Cassidy wins clean, I can see that happening too. I would be really surprised if they had Jericho go over twice.
God, I can't even remember the guy's name that Lesnar fought in Saudi Arabia.
Oh, man, you shit it all on that dude. You
Oh,
gonna
yeah.
tell me you
I
can't
know.
remember that dude's name?
I don't know, Juan something?
Starts with a C.
Carlos?
Abel's brother.
Cain Hernandez.
Oh, Jesus
Velasquez.
Christ.
Cain Velasquez.
Man, you
Hey,
sat up there and
I wanna
took a
apologize.
nice little dump on that man's good name for about 5 minutes on
Oh
this
no,
podcast.
that
Now
wasn't
you
me.
can't-
Hey, you always
was
have to
totally
remember.
you.
Hey, you always have to remember who the butt of the joke is. The butt of the joke is not Cain Velasquez. The butt of the joke is Vince for putting Cain Velasquez in that situation. I apologize to all my Hispanic brothers and sisters out there. I did not mean to stereotype anybody by getting Hernandez, and Velasquez all mixed up.
No, he can't get the white
and
people
by
right.
using Carlos as the first.
He said starts with a C. Name a Hispanic name that starts with a C. The first one you think of is Carlos. Come on, think of another one.
Great.
Think of another one
No,
besides
let's
Cain.
move along before
Think
we
of
get-
another one.
let's-
Think of another one
No,
before
let's move along to Biz
you
before
can.
we dig him another hole.
Cristiano.
Talk about the main event. Talk about the main event.
Main event. We
You guys
had
are
Darby
racist.
Allin and John Moxley, and this was a lot of fun. Darby Allin really took some bumps in this. I don't know if his head hit that ring post or if it was just his hands. But
Didn't
there
look
was
good.
There was a ding, and then there was a pretty long pause in the match.
Yeah, you could kind of see it in in Moxley's eyes too, that he was kind of like, "Oh fuck."
He waited a while.
He did.
before-
He did.
Yeah, which makes me think that Darby, just being the crazy guy that he was, just fucking went for it. But I don't know. We'll see. Like I don't know if we'll get any kind of report on that. But this was a fun match. It was similar to their previous match, but I did enjoy the kind of like mentor aspect, like the respect, and not even grudging respect. Like the story was that Moxley really respects Darby Allin, and he's quote unquote his favorite guy in AEW. But when I tell you to tap, you tap, because I'm gonna hurt you. And it was just that they played it out. And like when Moxley says something in a promo, like it's not just some lip service stuff. It always plays in to the match. Like, and that's what I love. It's decidedly old school. It's I'm gonna give you what I have promised. He doesn't overpromise and underdeliver. But yeah, these guys had a fun main event TV match. I'm sure Bill will shit on it and say Darby Allin's not championship material, and do an MJF promo on him about being a 125-pound emo kid. But I thought it was a worthwhile main event match for a world championship. Had a pretty big feel to it, even though we didn't really feel like Darby was walking away with it. But there was definitely it was worthy of a main event, and it was a fun match.
Jason, what did you think?
For the most part, I agree with Two Beard. The biggest problem with it coming in is that they announced the MJF Moxley title match already for All Out. So at that point, you kind of knew that Moxley was going to go over, even though when MJF interfered, that was the moment where I caught myself was thinking, oh, are they getting ready to swerve us? Oh, this is getting ready to be an amazing swerve because MJF, teased about, how he really didn't want to face Moxley. And the fact that Darby Allin being the champion wouldn't be the worst thing in the world. So when that happened, I'm like, oh, man, don't tell me they're getting ready to pull the trigger on this. So, I mean, it's little stuff like that with the story within the match that made this match good. Darby Allin, God bless that man. I mean, he's doing things that I wouldn't advise any other wrestler to be doing, taking bumps that most wrestlers wouldn't even try to take. So I tip the hat to him on that scenario. Mox is Mox. He came out and was the dominant champion that they portrayed him to be. If they didn't say that Mox and MJF was already a title match and then played this out, I would have gotten into this a lot more, especially when Moxley apparently was going to lose the title. But all in all, it was a good story told.
They did just say that MJF gets a title match at All Out. They billed it as Moxley because he's the champion, but they did explicitly state that, it could be Darby Allin or whoever the champion is. And MJF even said that.
Jason, there was no.
It wasn't like I was just saying. Last week they did that with. Was it last week? A couple weeks ago they did that with in WWE where they were already going to have this match. I think it was Ziggler came out for like a rematch that ended up being like non-title anyway. I don't know. It wasn't WWE.
Right, because they said it was going to be Orton versus SummerSlam.
I'm not saying it was WWE-esque. I'm just saying
that's not what I'm saying either. Jason, there was at no point during that match where you actually thought that Darby Allin was going to win, though, right?
For 30 seconds, when MJF hit Moxley, my heart skipped a beat, and I was like, "Oh, is this getting ready to happen?" And I'm kind of leaning forward, like, "Oh, this shit's getting ready to happen." So, I mean, I'll just speak for me. They got me because I was thinking to myself, oh, this is getting ready to go down, and MJF is going to have a possible easy path to the title.
All right.
Not the case, which works for me.
So I'll say this. Zach talks a lot about how much I hate Darby Allin, and I've probably said on this podcast that I hate Darby Allin.
I was about to say, we have the recording, so just come clean.
But I've also said that what I really hate about Darby Allin is his presentation. I've never hated his matches, except for the skateboard across the back thing with the tacks that I really, really fucking hated. I've always hated his presentation. I don't like the words written on him. I don't like it. He has the white paint on him. I don't like the skateboard. I don't have to go on and on about the things I don't like. But I also didn't like the John Moxley mask that he wore out last night. Like, I didn't get that shit at all. Like, what is the point of that? That looks so indie to me. That looks so fucking just low rent bullshit to me. Like, just come out or don't paint your face. That being said, I liked the match a whole bunch. It was a great match. I thought that they were going to end the same way that they ended the last one, but then they turned around and they didn't, which I also enjoyed. I was a fan of the match, and that's really all I have to say. I was cool with it. I had the opportunity to watch Imperium versus Adam Cole, or Imperium versus Undisputed Era with Adam Cole and what the fuck is his name? McAfee out there, and I decided to watch Dean Ambrose versus Darby Allin because I knew it would be a big match and I knew they would pull out some stuff. So with that being said, let's move on to NXT. Unless there's any other final thoughts.
Scorpio Sky, Cody next week for the TNT title.
Nice.
I think this might be a possible breakout performance for Scorpio Sky. I'm not saying he's going to win it, but he was clamoring about getting off of Dark. Made a great promo after his Dark match, and now he's getting his chance on Dynamite next week against Cody. That should be a good match.
When Cardona came out first this week, I thought we were getting Cardona. I thought it was going to be like, hey, Cody's giving his buddy a shot at the TNT title, and I was like, fuck, yeah, here we go. And I thought it was going to be Cody and Cardona, and I was a bit disappointed when I found out that it was going to be a tag team match. All right, Zach, kick us off for NXT.
This is banned.
Yeah,
from
so NXT
ringside.
kicked off with a really solid match between Rhea Ripley and Dakota Kai. And I won't say anything negative about the work at all because both these women are fantastic workers, both Kiwis, just really different styles, but, different size difference, but they are both really, really solid workers and really talented. And this was a really good opening match. It was a bummer that there was like commercial interruption. That's one thing I like about the AEW one, where they don't do the commercial interruption in the beginning. But it was still fine. The biggest bummer is not that like Rhea Ripley lost, because I can totally see, it's kind of Dakota Kai's turn, quote unquote. Like she's been around for a long time, and also she has that dangling thing with Tegan Knox, who they obviously have big plans for, and who's another big talent. And what redemption would it be for Tegan to win the NXT Women's Championship from Dakota Kai? I think that is a very interesting program. But you've got Rhea Ripley, who's been drowning since April, right? Since WrestleMania, when she never should have lost, and now she's just in this perpetual feud with the Robert Stone brand. And Jesus Christ, if I was her, I would be so... I mean, she's on TV every week. I get that, and it's not always your turn, but she was so white hot before this pandemic, and she never had to cool off. And that's the biggest bummer here, is they kind of protected her with the Mercedes Martinez kick to the head for the loss, but like, it's not that she's lost, but she's lost a lot, and she's lost a lot of steam, and it's not just because of the pandemic, it's because of the way they've portrayed her. But yeah, that was my biggest takeaway from that.
I like Dakota Kai, honestly. I thought this was a chance to give her a title shot. It's not a knock against Rhea Ripley. I mean, I totally agree with everything that Zach said. I think they went with Charlotte because Charlotte is the known commodity, and they feel comfortable with Charlotte. They just don't know what they have with Rhea Ripley, so they went a different route. Obviously, it hasn't worked, and Ripley has kind of spiraled downward since. This match with Mercedes Martinez kind of interests me in the sense that Mercedes kind of needs a push, but now Rhea Ripley's kind of going backwards too. So I guess, who do they prioritize, I guess, for lack of a better term, more at this point? I would like to think Rhea Ripley, but I'm a huge Mercedes Martinez fan. I would love to see her be the muscle behind the hustle of the Robert Stone brand, but we'll see what happens. Like I said, I like the match. I can see if Dakota Kai beats Io Shirai, then yeah, Tegan Knox is probably next in line, and that would be another great story. But I don't know if we're going that far. But the match itself was good. I didn't necessarily have a problem with Mercedes Martinez getting involved, but I do agree that there is some concern with Rhea Ripley at this point.
You got anything, Bill? What'd you think?
The Rhea Ripley, Dakota Kai? I went to take a piss.
Should have known. Give us a heads up on some shit like that, man.
Nah, it's just unprofessional. Just don't throw it to me. Just pretend that I'm not there all the time, like you guys, usually do. What was the question? I'm sorry.
Dakota Kai and Rhea Ripley.
Well, that's what I said about Rhea Ripley. I mean,
Okay.
it was a great match. I just think Rhea Ripley is such a superior talent over Dakota Kai. There's no reason that Rhea Ripley shouldn't be at the top of that card with Io Shirai, or else fighting people that are above Dakota Kai and Tegan Knox is the way that I feel. I mean, I just feel like Dakota Kai she's great. Rhea Ripley's on another level, though. Rhea Ripley she's like Zion Williamson. Like, she shouldn't even have gone to college. She just should have been in the pros from the beginning.
Mark.
Am I wrong, though? I mean, that's how good she is.
No. Zion Williamson's a bad motherfucker. Don't get me wrong.
Oh, you're calling me a Zion Mark?
Yes.
Oh, yeah. I'm a Kansas man. Come on. They lost today.
Yeah, that's why I'm calling you a Mark.
All right, that's
I
fine.
didn't know this podcast was full of Zionists.
I'm a Zionist, bro.
Only one.
This show, besides had some good wrestling. We basically had another 3-way that was basically the Orny Lorcan show, which is totally fine with me.
Yeah, he's the man.
Debuted this Ridge Holland guy who is a Vince guy if I ever saw one. And they're bringing him up. Apparently, he's like a rugby star.
Looked pretty green.
Yeah, but he looks strong, right? You know, like he did
Sure.
this gut-wrench power bomb. But yeah, I mean, compared to those other two guys, definitely not in the same league as them as far as work. But you know, Oni Lorcan took the pin. I guess they didn't want to beat Rich Holland. They got some plans for him. But Oni Lorcan just made these other guys look awesome and himself look awesome. It was just a really good 3-way. But there's so now Martinez is one and Bronson Reed is one, and they got into it backstage, and they're gonna have a singles match. But I guess now, because there's a injury and Dexter Lumis, unfortunately for him, is out with an ankle injury. Maybe fortunately for the match, is good. But I feel bad for him because I'm sure he's a good person. I haven't heard anything that doesn't tell me that he isn't.
Yeah.
But I feel like an asshole, but thinking maybe it's good. But it totally.
Well, you are
the booking.
Guilty as charged.
Now we've got these guys who are quote unquote complaining about not having taken a pin, like Finn Balor and Johnny Gargano and stuff. But that's the whole point of a 3-way. So William Regal or Steven Regal, what do they call him now?
William. He's William.
Regal.
He's awesome regardless. But William Regal,
he hasn't been Steven for 20 years.
Just living in the past, bro. To Vince, that's 3 weeks ago. That's why he gives all these guys 3-week pushes. He's like, I've been pushing them for 20 years. But they're mad because he booked these 3-ways and they didn't take a pin. But so instead of William Regal being well, that's what a 3-way is, bro, and that's why I booked it. He's like, we're just gonna make them do singles matches, and then they're gonna be the last participant. So I don't know how this thing was supposed to play out, or maybe this was how it was supposed to play out. But it all just seems kind of slapdash, and that's the unfortunate circumstance of NXT being booked week to week instead of being taped for 5 or 6 weeks or 7 to 8 weeks like it used to be. And now seems like a pretty perfect time to do something like that, but I guess maybe their TV contracts won't allow it. I don't know. I'm not diving into, even if those things were available, I wouldn't be diving into their TV contracts. So, but maybe they can't. Maybe they have to produce something close to live television for their contract to get that money. But I don't know. But anyway, that whole thing, we're gonna get a ladder match. I'm sure it's gonna be good, but the road to it has been rocky, to say the least. I don't know what you guys think about that.
I wasn't a huge fan of, I guess, the multiple triple threats to decide a ladder match, but I'll give NXT credit in the sense that they were still trying to put some of the not younger, but I guess less experienced talent in this match. Bronson Reed, Dexter Lumis being the two biggest examples of that. I guess I have a problem with, the mentality of, why this is being a problem. Finn Balor, if you want him in the match, just have him go over in that match. I mean, that was the match that I thought, okay, we need a star in this match. Since Johnny's not going to be in this match, this is a perfect chance for Finn Balor to get into it. And they went the different way. They went the Dexter Lumis route, your business. But now it feels like I'm not even sure if the Dexter Lumis thing is a work or not a work. I feel like we're getting worked. Got worked towards the end. But now I'm just kind of like, well, it feels like, okay, wait, I'm just not a huge fan of the big triple threats. It just feels like they have slapped this thing together, like Two Beers said, where we're trying to get over guys like Bronson Reed and Dexter Lumis. And I love that. Don't get me wrong. I'm all about making new stars. But then on the same aspect, I don't know if the Dexter Lumis thing is a work or they decided now, wait, we need, bigger name stars. So now that's why Gargano and Finn Balor are now being represented into this mix. So, I mean, I get it. I like the new stars aspect, but it just feels like they're trying to put the finger in the dike to repair it versus actually repair the dike itself.
Oh my God. Jesus Christ.
Man.
Hey, get your heads out of
This is a kid's show.
Wow. I did not. Sorry to everybody listening to their car with their children.
Wrong dike, motherfuckers.
But the right finger.
Depending on which one you use.
All right. Grimes versus Keith Lee was fun. Grimes looked good as always. Keith Lee went over. Zach, what was the main event?
You never would have thought that there was a actual tag team championship match going on because the real main event seemed to be Pat McAfee putting himself over on commentary.
Yeah.
And Beth Phoenix getting so mad that she walked off a set that she wasn't even on. And then, had like a pretty decent quote unquote celebrity angle. I very hesitantly call Pat McAfee a celebrity, but there was physicality. Adam Cole got in his face.
Yeah.
What's that?
I was going to say, we're also old. It's like, I don't know how big of a celebrity Pat McAfee is because I'm not all about sports radio these
I'm a bigger
days.
celebrity than Pat McAfee. Fuck that dude.
I don't know. I mean, he's a pretty hateable dude that got in a cheap shot. What I think, and I don't mean to hijack the 2 count, Zach. I think that this seemed like a face turn for Undisputed Era.
Oh, it absolutely was because McAfee came off as such a dick.
And Imperium also took advantage. Imperium are heels, and they also took advantage of the distraction and rolled up Kyle O'Reilly.
For sure. So I, could barely pay attention to what was going on in the ring. Like I said, I couldn't tell you anything that happened in the match besides that finish. But yeah, Cole took umbrage with the things that he was saying, threw a bottle of water in his face. Cole was getting held back, and McAfee came up and punted him. My favorite part was Hunter getting physical with McAfee.
Yeah, he pushed him pretty hard.
Yeah.
And you also had HBK out there.
Yeah, Sean was like, he was out there, and like Sean like played it off real cool, kayfabe style. Like he's just like, Hunter. Like the show ended with him saying, "Hunter, are they calling a doctor or what?" Like it was like so like just genuine concern and this like not show business or whatever. It was just good. But that angle I could give 2 shits about, but the performance of it was really well done. And if people are interested, it's just not for me.
It's really like NXT is going in the wrong direction though. They're trying to grab quick ratings by involving pseudo stars or pseudo celebrities or whatever the fuck they are, whatever the fuck Pat McAfee is. And they pull out Triple H and they pull out HBK and Triple H to make it seem like a bigger deal when really I would rather watch Jericho versus Orange Cassidy. Have a debate. I don't know. Like maybe I'm not who they're going for. If I'm not who they're going for, though, then who the fuck are they going for? Jason?
I don't know, man. I'll just say this. I get it. It's a ratings war, and we're trying to pop the rating. Here's my problem with it. You're going to let some guy, NFL punter, come in and kick the head of the most punter, kicker, whatever.
Go ahead.
Not an athlete.
Just pretend I'm not even talking when you're talking.
I will do so. You're going to have this jabroni come in and kick the head of the most celebrated NXT superstar in most recent history, and I'm supposed to buy this? Get the fuck out of here. Now we're going to make a match, which they announced today on ESPN. So that's why I'm just like, really? This is where I was watching Get Up this morning, and Triple H was a guest.
I'm sure you
and
were.
He basically laid out the fact that Pat McAfee is invited to get in the ring with Adam Cole at a nice little event called TakeOver that's going to happen in 2 weeks.
Oh, they're having a celebrity match at TakeOver?
Fuck you guys.
Oh, no.
You have fucking pissed me off
it's
to the
over.
point where now I hate this
It's
angle
over.
even more.
It's over.
So let's get this straight.
They ruined
Adam
the
Cole,
best thing.
Who's the Triple Crown, one of the 2 Triple Crown winners in all of NXT, you're going to have him get laid out by a fucking punter? And then the Undisputed Era doesn't do anything?
Cold-blooded.
Dude, buddy, I was literally mouth agape watching the end of that, trying to understand why this was happening. Why would you do Adam Cole like that?
Is that real?
I mean,
they're really going to have a celebrity match at TakeOver? That is so fucking disappointing, man, because TakeOver was one of the truest, purest things in fucking wrestling. And to have Pat McAfee have a match at TakeOver means that they are desperate. And that means that Hunter is falling back on Vince's old tricks. Thoughts about it, Zach? We only have 10 minutes left. We got to do the whole TakeOver do-over. Thoughts about it, Zach?
Yeah, I mean, I've pretty much given my thoughts. It's not for me.
All right. Jason, last thoughts?
Fuck Pat McAfee.
I'm sure we're going to have plenty more time to fuck Pat McAfee. That's not next week, is it?
It's in 2 weeks whenever TakeOver is at Saturday.
Okay, so I'll be back for the TakeOver preview show?
Yes, predictions, the whole shebang.
It's not a week from Saturday, right?
You'll be back.
Okay, that'll do it for our 3 counts.
1, 2, 3. This is banned from ringside.
All right, so let's do that TakeOver do-over. This is from Toronto in November of 2016. I'll save my thoughts overall for later. Well, you know what? Let's get our thoughts overall right now. Zach, your thoughts overall on this pay-per-view. And then we'll burn through the
Overall,
matches.
It was a solid pay-per-view. I don't know that I liked it any more than I liked the previous one. I think I might have liked the previous one a little bit more.
That's pretty much exactly how I feel.
Yeah, this is definitely into the territory of like ones that I've seen before. So it's like the second time I'm seeing all of them. And I feel like when I was watching it, that I liked every single one more than the one before. So that's kind of surprising because that's not, in retrospect, how I'm viewing them.
Jason?
This is where it's going to start getting interesting because now we're starting to see where guys are going to lead to go up to main roster and the entrances are being more elaborate. This is the takeovers where we're going to start getting really good matches, possible 5-star matches, and we're going to have to figure out what is the best takeover.
Okay, so the first match was Bobby Roode versus Ty Dillinger. I'll go first. I thought this match was fine. I'll tell you what. I remember watching this when it was happening, and I remember being really annoyed at the crowd for chanting 10 for everything. And you know what they didn't do? They didn't boo the heels because when Bobby Roode started doing the 10 thing, they were chanting 10 along with it. The crowd marked this down a half point for me. I gave it 2.5 stars. Zach.
I actually liked this match quite a lot. I feel like they actually kind of worked it almost like a main event, kind of like as we get to these later takeovers where like every match feels like a main event. This was like
the crowd was so into it.
The crowd was super hot. And I don't
Jesus
know,
Christ.
I don't know how much Rude had leaned into his heel gimmick. I know he was a heel the whole time, but I think that entrance just had him over so much. And the entrance, like seeing that entrance again, I mean, those like NXT entrances are just as good, if not better, than most of like the wild and crazy WrestleMania entrances, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like, I mean, just something simple like they had a choir come out and sing "Glorious," and it was so good. But these guys wrestled really, really well. I actually gave it 3.5 stars. I really liked it.
Zach, or two beer, or what's your name? Jason.
Christ. The black guy, yeah. I agree with TBZ. 3.5 stars. Yeah. Hey, it's Kuta, good day. 3.5 stars. The entrances for me was the biggest deal, where Bobby Roode's coming out with the choir. Ty Dillinger comes out and the crowd just erupts. The crowd was hot from start to finish, and I think that's what really gave it to me that little extra oomph. The match was good on top of it. So all in all, like I said, from start to finish, I was really impressed. 3.5 stars.
Man, you would have thought that Ty Dillinger was the next Rocky Johnson or the next Dwayne The Rock Johnson. If you watch this, you would have thought he was the biggest star in the world. Next up, we had the Dusty Rhodes Tag Team final between TM61, a guy that was on NXT this week, Shane Thorne in TM61 versus AOP. What do you got, Jason?
Lowest of the bunch, I gave it 2.25 stars. Pretty much it was a match. I mean, even when TM61 got off the fence in, quickly snuffed up by AOP. Even the possible interference from Paul Ellering didn't matter because they end up winning it clean. But it was just a match. I don't think even then or now, especially then when I initially saw it, I didn't think that TM61 had a chance. Just watching it again just confirmed what I thought initially.
Shark cage matches are so stupid. Zach, what do you got?
Yeah, I gave it 2.5. The shark cage match, there's no point to it whenever you don't have like a for lack of a better saying, like a pussy heel manager, right? Chicken shit heel manager.
Right.
Like you got like a Paul Ellering who just walks in the cage and just stands there. Like, what's the point of him being in a cage?
The whole point of him being there is just that he drops something into the ring at some point.
Yeah, it's just, I don't know. The trope can work if it doesn't turn like cliche, and this just turned cliche. It was just dumb.
I had it,
but. Yeah, 2.5 stars.
I had it 3 stars. I enjoyed it. I enjoyed it quite a bit. I thought the TM61 really showed off their athleticism. Maybe I was nostalgic for AOP. Let me give my ratings, Jason. You give your ratings. Next up we have what was my match of the night. We had DIY versus the Revival. Zach, go for it.
Yeah, this was definitely my match of the night. I gave it the same rating that I gave the one the week before, even though I give them for entirely different reasons. 4.75 stars.
Oh my god!
Last week, I loved how old school the match was. Just a classic old school wrestling match with all of the old school heel tropes and the hot tags and the babyface hot tags and all that. This one was a 2 out of 3 falls match, decidedly new school, that didn't rely on the classic WWE 2 out of 3 falls match where someone gets a pin right away and just wrestle for 2 falls. It was kind of close.
It was quick.
It wasn't that super quick though.
It lost a full half point for me. It lost a full half. What you give it? You gave it 4.75?
Yeah.
Holy shit! I give it 4. It lost. It lost a half a point for me because of the 2 out of 3 falls gimmick, which I do not like, and I definitely don't like the way the WWE does it. Jason, what you give it?
I agree with Two Beer, 4.75 stars. The knock for me was the quick pinfall for the first fall. I don't mind 2 out of 3 falls. This is the way to do it, especially at the end when they teased Gargano of tapping again, and he didn't tap, and then you had the double tap out. Even though you probably should have got the second guy out, the illegal guys, Ciampa, and I think it was Scott Dawson at the time. Doesn't matter. I mean, I had a really hard time not giving it all 5 stars.
Marks. Next up, we had Asuka versus Mickie James. Mickie James. Oh my God, Jesus Christ. Whew. I don't like when people say she looks good for her age because Mickie James just looks good. I gave it 3 stars.
Nick Aldis does done well.
3 stars. Zach.
I agree, 3 stars.
I gave it 3.25. This was not on the level of like the Asuka Bailey matches, but it was cool to see Mickie James in an actual wrestling match because she can work.
She can work. It's also cool watching Asuka play kind of a heel. Like when she invited Mickie James back into the ring and she sat on the ropes and then Mickie James came back in and then she hit her right away. Like, I kind of like that stuff. And I don't know. I like watching Asuka kick ass. And I like.
This was like the start of the tease of Asuka heel turn, which I thought could have been interesting. The biggest thing I didn't like about the match is that you looked up and it ended. And you could kind of see the reaction of people in the stands were like, whoa, that's it? It's over? So, yeah, I mean, I think it lost a lot. There was a lot left on that bone. I think they could have told the story, gave it another 10 minutes, but, I mean, it is what it is.
All right, and last up, I was surprised by the ending of the Samoa Joe Nakamura match. I figured Nakamura was going to win. Samoa Joe goes over. I enjoyed the match, not as much as I enjoyed the match last week. I gave it 3 3/4 stars. Jason, what'd you give it?
I've given it a 4, as in the 4 Horsemen stars. I forgot that Joe won this too. So, I mean, this basically said that Nakamura was a one-and-done champ, which, once again, looking at the crowd, you could tell the crowd was surprised too, because they, like me, I expected Nakamura to retain. Once again, great entrances, especially from Nakamura. The live violins, I think that, I don't know how Vince
man, the entrance is so bad. The entrance was so dope.
Just it blows my mind how Vince blows that, but the wrestling was good. We told another good story.
I mean, it's easy to do that. It's easy to do that Full Sail University. It's easier to do that Full Sail University than it is to do in Dayton, Ohio.
This was in Toronto, Canada, man.
Yeah, I know. Okay, whatever. It's easier to do in front of an NXT audience than it is to do in Dayton, Ohio.
So you're going to say that the WWE audience didn't mark the fuck out when Shinsuke Nakamura came to the scene and started singing along?
They're not going to do it every Raw, though.
You out your mind. No, they're not.
What do you got, Zach?
I gave it flat 4 stars, too. It was just a really solid main event. I was surprised. But, yeah, Nakamura, he was a 2-time champion, and that makes sense. I guess if I had to assume anything, like, I can't remember 4 years back, but what, like, the programs were like, but I'm assuming that they probably just didn't have another program and they just wanted more Samoa Joe Nakamura because he wins it back. Like, man. Spoiler alert.
Zach's a real student of the game.
So, yeah, but yeah, it was just it was a good main event, but again, overshadowed by amazing tag team wrestling in the middle of the card.
All right, that's going to do it for our NXT TakeOver Do-Over. Thanks for listening. Next week, we're going to do whichever one is after Toronto. Do you guys know what it is?
I think it's Japan, because isn't that where Nakamura wins it back?
I think so. Don't quote me on it.
Jesus Christ, man. Like, you don't have to give it away for all.
The question, how you going to get mad at us?
Hey, everybody, if you guys want to listen along, maybe not next week. All right. You know what? You guys can do whatever you want. You guys do whatever you want and let me know what you're doing. That's going to do it for our NXT. That's going to do it for our 3 count.
1,
you ain't shit.
3.
What'd you say, Jason?
You ain't shit.
Oh, wait. I forgot to do birthdays. Dino Bravo is 71. Tony Nese is 35. Sable is 53. Shayna Baszler is 40. Zach Gibson is 30. Silas Young, who I based Bronson the Priest off of, is 40. Alexa Bliss is 29. Tugboat is 64. Savio Vega is 56. Hulk Hogan has my wife's birthday at 67. She is much younger. And Wade Barrett, Bad News Barrett, is 40. Hey, everybody. We know there's tons of podcasts to listen to, so we appreciate you guys listening to ours. For Bo Giesman.
Check.
For F&B Eatery.
Check.
For Murray the Man Murray.
Lucha Chris. Check. Get healthy soon, brother.
I'm doing both. For Lucha Chris.
Get healthy soon, brother.
For 2 Beer Zach Pullman.
Cheers.
For Jason Cornelius Bell.
Konnichiwa, bitches.
I am Bill Vagey, and everybody never, ever, ever forget to boo the heels. Boo!